Live from New Delhi, you're watching DDI India News Hour, India's voice to the world with me, Deepika, coming up in the next 1 hour. Prime Minister Narendra Modi says world witnessed India's military might in Operation Sindoor, calls Monsoon Session of the Parliament a celebration of victory. India's Civil Aviation Minister slams the Western media over Air India crash narrative, informs black box decoded in the country for the first time. Japan's ruling coalition loses majority in the upper house. Prime Minister Ishiba vows to remain in the office for US tariff talks. Opposition weighs a no-confidence motion. And in sports, Nitish Kumar and Arshdeep Singh ruled out ahead of India versus England fourth test match. Anshul Kamboj to join the team in Manchester. A very good afternoon to all the viewers joining us at the afternoon broadcast. To begin with the biggest, Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Monday stressed that the Parliament's monsoon session is like a Vijay Utsav as the Indian Armed Forces achieved their objectives under Operation Sindoor with 100% success, demolishing the masterminds behind terrorism in their hideouts. Briefing the media before the start of the session, Prime Minister Narendra Modi underscored that the world has witnessed the strength of India's military power.
पूरी दुनिया ने भारत की सैन्य शक्ति का, भारत के सैन्य के सामर्थ्य का रूप देखा है। ऑपरेशन सिंदूर में भारत की सेना ने जो लक्ष्य निर्धारित किया था 100% अचीव किया। आतंकियों के आकाओं के घर में जाकर के 22 मिनट के भीतर भीतर ऑपरेशन सिंदूर के तहत उसको जमींदोज कर दिया गया।
The Prime Minister also hailed the multi-party delegations for their participation in the global outreach program under Operation Sindoor, calling it a reflection of India's collective strength and growing stature on the world stage.
पहलगाम की क्रूर हत्या, अत्याचार, नरसंहार पूरी दुनिया चौंक उठी थी। आतंकवादी और आतंकवादी के आके दुनिया का ध्यान उनकी तरफ केंद्रित हुआ था और उस समय दल हित छोड़ करके देश हित में हमारे ज्यादातर दलों के प्रतिनिधि, ज्यादातर राज्यों के प्रतिनिधि विश्व भ्रमण किया, दुनिया के अनेक देशों में गए और एक स्वर से दुनिया के सामने आतंकवादियों का आका पाकिस्तान को बेनकाब करने का एक बहुत सफल अभियान चलाया। मैं आज राष्ट्र हित में किए गए इस महत्वपूर्ण कार्य के लिए उन सभी सांसदों की सराहना करना चाहता हूं, सभी दलों की सराहना करना चाहता हूं और उसने देश में एक सकारात्मक वातावरण पैदा किया। विश्व ने भारत की बात को स्वीकार करने की दिशा में अपने मन के द्वार खोले।
Prime Minister also noted that India has endured many violent challenges, be it terrorism or Naxalism, but today the influence of Naxalism and Maoism is shrinking rapidly. Prime Minister Modi highlighted that the constitution prevails over bombs and guns, adding that the red corridors of the past are now transforming into green zones of growth and development.
चाहे आतंकवाद हो, नक्सलवाद हो, कोई प्रारंभ में शुरू हुआ होगा, कोई बाद में शुरू हुआ होगा, लेकिन आज नक्सलवाद का, माओवाद का दायरा बहुत तेजी से सिकुड़ रहा है। माओवाद को, नक्सलवाद को जड़ से उखाड़ने के संकल्प के साथ देश के सुरक्षा बल एक नए आत्मविश्वास से, तेज गति से सफलता की ओर कदम रख रहे हैं। और मैं गर्व से कह सकता हूं, देश में सैकड़ों जिले नक्सल की चपेट में से निकल करके आज मुक्ति का सांस ले रहे हैं।
Now, Prime Minister Modi also underlined the historic moment when the Indian tricolor was unfurled at the International Space Station for the first time, calling it a source of immense pride for every Indian citizen.
ये सत्र राष्ट्र गौरव और विजयोत्सव का सत्र है, तो सबसे पहले तो मैं पहली बार इंटरनेशनल स्पेस स्टेशन पर भारत का तिरंगा झंडा वहां लहराना, ये हर देशवासी के लिए गौरव की पल है।
Highlighting that when their government took charge in 2014, India was part of fragile 5 economies. And the Prime Minister said that today, India is rapidly moving towards becoming the world's number 3 economy and is knocking on the doors of that milestone.
देश में एक जमाना था 2014 के पहले, जब महंगाई का दर, इन्फ्लेशन रेट डबल डिजिट में हुआ करता था। आज 2% के आसपास आकर के देश के सामान्य मानव के जीवन में राहत बन गया है, सुविधा बन गया है। लो इन्फ्लेशन के सामने हाई ग्रोथ एक अच्छे विकास यात्रा की दिशा है।
The monsoon session of India's parliament began today. It will continue till the 21st of the next month with a total of 25 sittings. The lower house paid tribute to the innocent lives lost in the horrific Pahalgam attack and to the victims of the Air India crash that took place in Ahmedabad. The house also paid tribute to the lives of the persons who lost their lives in floods due to incessant rainfall. In the upper house, the Minister for Civil Aviation, K. Ram Mohan Naidu, informed that the Aircraft Accident Investigation Bureau follows a definitive rule-based process and is totally unbiased in probing Air India plane crash. He further added that this is the first time that a black box has been decoded in India.
We have our own investigation body, which is the Aircraft Accident Investigation Bureau, which got into the investigation process right after the incident with the subject experts into the site, and they have started their process according to the international protocol, and they have involved subject matter experts, all the international necessary people who are supposed to be participating in the investigation, and they have gone through the first set of investigation process, and they have given us the preliminary report. It was for the first time that as a country India took a stand that the black box which was achieved, even if it was damaged, that the whole decoding process is going to happen in the country, and we have successfully done it in the country. To have a definitive answer and a definitive future correction measures, we have to look at the final report, sir. And I can say this to the House and through you to the people of this country also, that the AIB has a very definitive, thorough, rule-based process. They are very transparently looking into the process right now, and they are totally unbiased. This also I can say that the AIB is totally unbiased and looking into the facts.
And now DD India's Dibyendu Mondal joins us for more. Good afternoon, Dibyendu. What is the latest that you're tracking from the Parliament proceedings today?
Well, Deepika, good afternoon from outside Parliament here in New Delhi. Of course, the Parliament session began sitting from morning. The first sitting of the monsoon session began at about 11 a.m. And, there has been some ruckus in the Parliament, in both the houses of Parliament, for which, twice the Lok Sabha had to be adjourned. And it reconvened the first time at 12 p.m. after sitting for about 15 minutes at 11 a.m. And then again, after following the ruckus at about 12:15, 12:20, the Parliament was adjourned again. And the sitting, it was in fact adjourned till 2 p.m. And now the Lok Sabha has begun its proceedings once again. But having said this, Deepika, remember the most important part where if we talk about the ruckus that has been created inside both the houses of Parliament, despite the fact that Prime Minister Narendra Modi had appealed this morning to the opposition parties to show unity when it comes to conducting legislative business in the Parliament, because Parliament is a very, very crucial part of parliamentary democracy where important debates and discussion needs to take place. So therefore, he had urged all the opposition parties to come in and show solidarity, in fact, unity, and stand in unity for the development of Bharat, as they had shown during Operation Sindoor. So therefore, it seems that the opposition did not heed to this, and they had taken up the tactics they had designed, or the strategy that they had formulated for this particular session, and ruckus did follow in both the houses of Parliament. Okay. But also to the fact that the Prime Minister, during his address to the media this morning, also spoke about how he spoke about the valor of the Indian Armed Forces and how Operation Sindoor was carried out with precision from the Indian Armed Forces. This is one of the most disciplined and the most advanced armed forces in the world, and therefore striking deep inside Pakistan was something that needs to be applauded by all politicians, parliamentarians across different political parties, and they did do that during that point in time, and he expected that the oppositions would show the same sense of unity for India in the parliamentary sessions as well.
All right, thank you so much, Dibyendu, for joining us straight from the Parliament and getting us up to speed with the current proceedings. And now let's move on to Mr. Shekhar Iyer, who is the senior journalist and joining us at this afternoon broadcast to get you more on the latest development. Good afternoon, Mr. Iyer. Thank you so much for joining us here at this afternoon broadcast. Talking about today's Parliament proceeding, today's day one, and Prime Minister Narendra Modi's speech outlined a lot of pressing issues. And to begin with Operation Sindoor, where Prime Minister outlined the success of Indian Army, but also hailed the fact that how all political parties stood united in India's fight against terrorism and worked towards the global outreach program together. How should that set the tone for the Parliament session? Because that is a win-win situation for the entire country and is not at all party-specific. Mr. Iyer.
Thank you, Deepika. Well, what we saw today was that, in fact, the Prime Minister set the tone for this monsoon session, because this session is happening at a very, very crucial time and after very significant developments, particularly the successful operation against the terrorists based in Pakistan under Operation Sindoor, and followed by an outreach team by parliamentarians from across parties traveling to different capitals of the world to convey India's strong message against terrorism. And also the Prime Minister referred to the other changes that are taking place in this country in terms of economic developments, in terms of economic inputs. In fact, he referred to the good monsoon we are having currently, which the Prime Minister described as a season of monsoon is usually means regeneration, a sign of natural regeneration. In the sense, there is a whole outlook is very positive, and he wanted a good debate where all these things can be taken up. We saw yesterday there was an all-party meeting where the government conveyed its readiness to discuss all issues, whatever that was agitating the opposition fight. But unfortunately, when the parliament opened today, we saw that all the kind of understanding that appeared to have been reached yesterday seemed to vanish in the thin air, because opposition was back to resorting to not to allow discussion, not to go for a structured debate on various issues. That's a very unfortunate part, because the government is not saying they are not going to discuss. They are willing to discuss everything. But then all that government was saying that there is a procedure in which there is a business advisory committee which meets, and that will be meeting today. And that set time for each of these debates. And Prime Minister also mentioned about the challenges within, whether it is terrorism or Maoist violence, how India has been combating it. And gradually we have seen the area under which was under Maoist influence is shrinking day by day, and only a few pockets are left. The government has set a target of March of 2026 as the time by which it expects to eliminate whatever little resistance in the name of Maoism.
Right. We will talk about that also, but first of all, talking more about Operation Sindoor. Now, through Operation Sindoor, India once again showed its prowess in India's capabilities, where today Prime Minister Modi highlighted that Made in India weapons showed their mettle during the hostilities. Now, the speed at which India is growing, including the example of UPI and especially rising with setting an example at crucial hours. Doesn't that speak volumes about India's growth already, leaving no question mark on government's intent and growth plan, highlighting this ahead of the Parliament session?
Definitely, the Prime Minister pointed out particularly, and there should be no doubt in anyone's mind as to the success of our military Operation Sindoor. He said we had 100% success, in the sense the targets that we chose to eliminate were eliminated, causing immense damage to not just the terrorist infrastructure in Pakistan, but also the supporting military infrastructure. India initially did not want to target the military infrastructure, confining itself to the terrorist bases and terrorist launch pads. But then you saw Pakistan trying to make it out into a military conflict, and then they got a reply. This kind of resolve that the government of India has shown, our armed forces have shown, and also all the parties, rising to the occasion, keeping politics apart. But despite the Prime Minister's, readiness and willingness to take up all these issues in Parliament, somehow the opposition, and particularly the leaders of opposition, whether it is in the Rajya Sabha or in the Lok Sabha, they somehow seem to be more focused on trying to make out as if things have gone out of control, things are not all right. And when the facts are to the contrary, that is the very unfortunate part, when a monsoon session should have begun with actually Parliament holding a very good debate and sending a message that when it comes to its integrity, territorial integrity, or when it comes to fighting terrorism, India will not tolerate any kind of violation.
Very important point raised here by you, that despite setting all the pointers ahead of the Parliament session, there is a ruckus which we are witnessing on day one itself, and especially in the first few hours of the Parliament proceedings itself, where when we talk about India's growth story, which has been outlined by Prime Minister Modi today, he also mentioned that India is not only growing financially but has a 360-degree growth plan. And another example is of India's space expedition, which Prime Minister mentioned, and Shubhanshu Shukla, who created history, which has been hailed by the Prime Minister himself today ahead of the Parliament session, outlining India's achievement. And the appreciations have also been received from around the globe, Mr. Iyer. How is this setting the tone for India's aim to become a developed nation by the year 2047, which the opposition should also acknowledge as we begin the day one of the monsoon Parliament session?
The world is watching India's growth story at a time when world over you hear of lot of economic issues, a lot of economic problems, be it because of developments in West Asia, or is it because of the continuing conflict in Ukraine, at a time when the mood, if you look at the global economic mood, is not very, very positive. But in India, the growth story is different. And world over, people are saying that India seems to be one island of positivity, one island where it looks like the future belongs to India, and why investment, the future destination of investment is in India. And particularly the digital system, particularly our financial services which have been digitalized, payment system, that is now being seen as an exemplary system to be adopted by the rest of the world. This was mentioned during last year's G20 summit. Subsequently, also in numerous talks at the summit level, wherever Prime Minister has visited, most countries have interest in trying to adopt this digital system, where direct payments are made, whether it is the particularly to the most poorest of the poor, in terms of direct payments. So therefore, UPI has been gaining popularity, and more and people want to know how India, despite its varying economic challenges, has been able to usher in such a technological change.
And also now let's talk about country's internal security, as you mentioned in the beginning, where Naxalism remains one of the contentious issue. And ahead of the Parliament session, Prime Minister highlighted that how red corridors are being transformed into green growth zones, and further stressed on government's resolve of a Naxalism-free country by the year 2026. Amidst all international issues, prioritizing Naxal-free zones is yet another tear in India's growth story, isn't it?
Definitely, see, the battle against Maoism, the battle against the violence that has, afflicted at least 2 or 3 states, particularly in the areas inhabited by our tribal brothers and sisters. It has been, this movement has been, going on and on, where senseless violence has been unleashed against the poor tribals. And numerous attempts have been made to see that the fruits of development don't reach the interior areas. Therefore, Government of India took it up the last 10 years as a very concerted program where they will tackle the development issue as well as the law and order issue and the security issue. And that has also seen coordination between the concerned states, sharing of intelligence, and the Home Ministry, particularly the Union Home Ministry, have been coordinating with the states afflicted by this particular problem. And we have seen gradually the sustained operation by our security forces, and also urging upon those misguided young men and women to surrender and join the mainstream. There has been a lot of success in terms of, raiding of the hideouts. Many Maoists have fallen to the security forces' sustained operation, and many others have also surrendered, wanting to take up a new life, understanding that the way forward for growth, way forward for economic uplift of the poorest to the poor is by participation and not by violence. That is why our story against the Maoist violence is a story of not just some kind of a security operation against men holding gun and weapon. This is a story about eliminating misguided youths who think they are bringing some great revolution, but in fact they have been only perpetuating violence, killing so many innocent people.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Shekhar Iyer, for joining us and bringing us a rounded perspective on Prime Minister Narendra Modi's speech ahead of the Parliament session today and its proceeding on day 1. Moving on. Japanese Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba said on Monday that he needed to continue in office on Monday after his ruling coalition suffered defeat in the upper house elections. Ishiba told a news conference that he would remain in office to oversee tariff talks with the United States and other pressing matters such as rising consumer prices. Ishiba offered his apologies after his coalition's loss.
いつまでという期限を今考えておるわけではございません。
I am not currently thinking of a deadline of when I will continue till. As I mentioned earlier, we will do our utmost to find a way to resolve imminent issues such as the US tariff measures, rising prices, natural disasters that could happen tomorrow, and the most complex and challenging security environment of the post-war era.
その道筋をつけると全力で対応。
Well, Japan's ruling coalition has lost its majority after the far-right Sanseito party emerged as one of the biggest winners in Japan's upper house elections on Sunday. The party won 14 seats and second placed was the Constitutional Democratic Party of Japan, which won 22 of those being contested, followed by the Democratic Party for the People with 17. Now, Sanseito wants stricter rules and limits on immigration, opposes radical gender policies and wants a rethink on decarbonization and vaccines. And now we are joined by DD India correspondent Polami Barman straight from Tokyo. Good afternoon, Polami. Now, the result comes as a huge blow to Shigeru Ishiba and his party. Can you specify the reasons? Has inflation played a major role in this, Polami?
It means that PM Ishiba will still remain in power in spite of their loss in spite of failing to get a majority in the upper house as well. However, with they will remain in power, but with a reduced leverage now. It means that the tax reform bills or the tariff negotiations might get tougher in the upper house. As they will require approvals from other parties as well.
Also, Polami, Shigeru Ishiba has vowed to stay on, but survival might not be that easy. What could be the possible future turn of events for Ishiba?
Politicians, in fact, had mentioned that LDP will not have, it wouldn't be a major issue for LDP to hold on to the majority in the upper house. However, it is seen that LDP has failed to gain the majority in the upper house, and the new party, Sanseito, has ate into their seat share. The major reason why LDP failed to get the majority in the upper house can be the rising prices of commodities. In fact, the LDP was named in a money in politics scandal recently, which might have also played against the party.
All right, thank you so much, Polami, for joining us and bringing us the latest from there. Moving on, the Japan government has lost its control as Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba weakened his grip on power, with the opposition's tough talk on immigration grabbing the nation's attention. Many nations want change in immigration policies, citing rise in consumer prices and leading to rise in criminal activities. Here's a report on anti-immigration clashes around the world. Take a look.
In the United Kingdom, new anti-migrant clashes erupted in London on Sunday outside a hotel housing asylum seekers. Rioters threw bottles and smoke bombs at the police. Early on Thursday, 8 police officers were wounded in clashes. Several demonstrations were held in the Epping town after police charged an asylum seeker with sex offences. The country also witnessed anti-immigration riots a year ago in the wake of the fatal stabbings of 3 young girls in the northern town of Southport. Immigration has become a top concern for UK voters as Prime Minister Keir Starmer published a white paper policy document calling for changes to make it harder to settle in the UK. Recently, Spain witnessed unrest in Torre Pacheco town after migrants attacked a 68-year-old Spaniard. Riot police patrolled the streets to curb protest and clashes between the Spaniards and North African migrants. Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez defended immigration citing economic benefits and has accused Conservative Party Vox of inciting clashes. In return, Vox leader Santiago Abascal said the government's migration policies were to blame. Anti-immigration protesters were organized by far-right Confederation Party in Poland's Warsaw on Saturday. Participants shouting slogans of "Stop Immigration" took part in demonstrations held in more than 80 Polish cities. They demanded the closure of the borders with Lithuania, Ukraine, Belarus and Slovakia.
I came here to show that we want peace in our country, that we have been an open country for many years. In fact, we Poles were refugees and immigrants to other countries for decades, even hundreds of years. So, I think now we should repay that by acting the same way.
With recent timeline of events bringing the Japan government in the spotlight, Illegal migration has now become a global subject, with many governments facing backlash from the people, leading to turmoil. Bureau Report, DD India.
Time to take a short break, but still to come on the other side. Iran, Britain, France and Germany to hold nuclear talks in Istanbul on Friday. Up next, we'll get you the latest weather updates from across the country.
Jharkhand will mesmerize you with majestic nature, rich heritage and colorful culture.
Johar. अरे it fits perfectly.
Thank you.
Full workout हो गया.
Ready?
Postcards from Jharkhand on National Geographic.
Welcome back after that short break. You're watching DD India News Hour. Let's quickly recap the top headlines of the hour. Prime Minister Narendra Modi says world witnessed India's military might in Operation Sindoor, calls Monsoon Session of the Parliament a celebration of victory. India's Civil Aviation Minister slams the Western media over Air India crash narrative, informs black box decoded in the country for the first time. Japan's ruling coalition loses majority in the upper house. Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba vows to remain in the office for the US tariff talks. Opposition weighs a no-confidence motion. Now, US President Donald Trump on Monday stepped up his attack on Barack Obama by posting an AI-generated video of the Federal Bureau of Investigation arresting the former president in the Oval Office. The video, posted on Truth Social, begins with Obama saying, I quote him, "Especially the president is above the law," unquote. Now, it then features many US politicians stating no one is above the law. The clip then switches to an AI-generated video of Obama being handcuffed by two FBI agents in the same office he once occupied as the president. Now, Trump can be seen sitting and smiling during the arrest. The fake video ends with Obama standing inside the jail wearing the prison's orange jumpsuit. Now, Donald Trump's past ties with Jeffrey Epstein are under scrutiny after the US president slammed a Wall Street Journal report that he sent a lewd letter to the infamous sex offender as fake news. Let's take a look at the pair's relationship as the Trump administration also faces demands to release all government files on Epstein's alleged crimes and his death. Now, Trump appears to have known Epstein since the 1990s. They partied together in 1992 with NFL cheerleaders at Trump's Mar-a-Lago resort in Florida. Epstein was Trump's only guest at a calendar girl competition he hosted. Trump flew on Epstein's private jet at least 7 times during the 1990s. Moving on, in the year 1993, Trump allegedly groped swimsuit model Stacey Williams after Epstein introduced them at Trump Tower. Moving forward to the year 2023, Trump was found liable of sexually abusing and defaming American journalist John Carroll in a civil trial. Virginia, one of Epstein's main accusers who died by suicide this year, said she was recruited into his alleged sex trafficking network aged 17 while working at Trump's Mar-a-Lago club in 2000. Trump praised Epstein as a terrific guy in 2002 New York Magazine profile. Now, in the year 2003, Trump penned a letter for Epstein's 50th birthday. Trump dismissed the letter as a fake thing. Now, the pair had a rupture in 2004 as they competed to buy a waterfront property in Florida. So those same theories now threaten to destabilize Trump administration despite his attempts to dismiss the saga as a hoax created by political adversaries. Moving on. Iran, Britain, France and Germany will hold nuclear talks in Istanbul on Friday. Iranian diplomats will meet the counterparts from Britain, France and Germany, known as the E3, after the trio warned that sanctions could be reimposed on Tehran if it does return to the negotiating table over its nuclear program. Iran and the United States had held several rounds of nuclear negotiations through Omani mediators before Israel launched its 12-day conflict against Iran. However, US President Donald Trump's decision to join Israel in striking Iranian nuclear facilities effectively ended the talks. The E3 continues. The countries last met with Iranian representatives in Geneva on the 21st of June, just one day before the US strikes. And now let's get you the latest from Syria. Dozens of Bidawi fighters made their way towards the village of Al-Masra in the outskirts of Suwaida on Sunday. Meanwhile, calm was reported in Syria's Suwaida after the Islamist-led government announced that Bidawi firefighters withdrew from the predominantly Druze city, and a US envoy signaled that a deal to end days of fighting was being implemented. The fighting began a week ago with clashes between Bidawi and Druze fighters. Damascus then sent troops to quell the fighting, but they were accused of carrying out widespread violations against the Druze and were hit by Israeli strikes before withdrawing under a truce agreed on Wednesday. The Syrian presidency had announced a new ceasefire early on Saturday, but it quickly collapsed into renewed fighting, underlining the challenge interim President Ahmad al-Shara faces in asserting authority over the fractured nation. And in a latest update on Russia-Ukraine conflict, Ukraine's sustained drone attack on Russia led to airports in Moscow to be temporarily shut on Monday, which caused thousands of passengers waiting in lines or sleeping on the floor after flights were cancelled or delayed. Russia's defense ministry said it had downed 117 drones overnight, including 30 over the Moscow region, after downing 172 drones, including 30 over the Moscow region the previous day. Russia's Civil Aviation Authority briefly imposed restrictions on flights overnight at Moscow's main airport. Meanwhile, Russian strikes on Ukraine's capital Kyiv on Monday killed at least one person and left a shop and school on fire, according to a city official. Ukraine's Air Force said that Russia had launched 426 drones and 24 missiles in an overnight attack on Ukraine. The Air Force said it downed or jammed 224 drones and missiles, while another 203 drones disappeared from radars, most likely having been jammed by electronic warfare. Now, South Korea is studying various plans to improve relations with North Korea, a spokesperson for South Korea's Unification Ministry said on Monday, in response to a media report that Seoul is considering allowing the individual tours to North Korea. Koon Byung-sam, a spokesperson for the ministry that handles inter-Korea affairs, said he understood individual tours were not in violation of international sanctions.
Pursuing North Korea policies with the aim of easing tension on the Korean peninsula and improving inter-Korean relations, and is looking into various plans.
And now we are getting a breaking news. Reports of a Chinese-made F-7 of BAF has crashed over Milestone College in Uttara of Bangladesh. Several are feared dead and wounded. This is the latest that we are tracking for you, where Chinese-made F-7 has crashed in Bangladesh. Now, this is a Bangladesh Air Force jet that has crashed in Dhaka. Several are feared dead and wounded. Bangladesh Air Force jet has crashed in Dhaka there. So, this is the latest update that we are getting for you, and we'll get you more details on this. We'll get you up to speed with our correspondent who would be joining us in a short while from now from Bangladesh. But several are feared dead and wounded. Now, to get you more on this, I'm joined by DD India correspondent Naval Singh. Naval Singh, what is the latest that you're tracking on the crash? How did it unfold?
Actually, just now got information regarding the crash of F-7 aircraft of Bangladesh Air Force. It crashed on a college campus in Dhaka, suburb of Dhaka, Uttara area. And according to the Bangladesh Fire Service, there is one casualty happens, and many appears to be injured in the incident. However, exact figure is yet to come, but the incident happened at around 1:30 p.m. Local time Bangladesh.
Are we also getting the numbers of how many people have been injured and dead?
One person got death in the incident, according to media reports. Pratham Alo Daily, which is the leading daily of Bangladesh, have reported. However, officially there is no reports of casualty, but they fear that many people have injured in the incident.
And also, what is the current status of rescue and relief operation there?
Yes, there are 2 to 3 teams of Bangladesh Fire Service and Army Rescue Team already there, and rescue work is going on.
All right, thank you so much, Naval Singh, for joining us and bringing us the latest on the breaking that we are getting for all the viewers there. Moving on now, let's get you weather updates. The Indian Meteorological Department has issued an orange alert for very heavy rain in Uttarakhand and Himachal Pradesh. The forecast predicted heavy rain at isolated places over the next 72 hours. Now on Tuesday, orange alerts are in place for Sirmaur and Solan, while Una and Bilaspur will face similar warnings on Wednesday before the weather is expected to improve from Thursday onwards. In Himachal Pradesh, roads remained blocked on Monday, causing major traffic disruptions across the state. The continued rains have resulted in slippery roads and poor visibility conditions. Restoration work is underway by the state authorities to clear the debris and restore the connectivity as well. Officials have urged people to restrain movement and avoid non-essential travel in the region. The southern states of Karnataka, Telangana and Tamil Nadu are also likely to get continued heavy to very heavy rainfall over the week. For other parts of northwest India, the IMD has predicted heavy rain over Punjab, Jammu and Kashmir, West UP, East UP, West Rajasthan, East Rajasthan and Haryana till Thursday. Moderate rainfall has also been predicted for Delhi NCR during the upcoming 24 hours. And now to get you the latest on the weather condition from Himachal, I'm joined by DD India correspondent Prakash Pant. Good afternoon, sir. Get us up to speed with the latest situation there in Himachal Pradesh.
तो फोन क्यों नहीं आ रहा है मेरे पास?
All right, we'll try connecting with Mr. Pant once again and get you the latest on the weather condition which is currently happening, what is the status of it, and we'll also get you what the latest prediction and advisory says about the weather there in Himachal Pradesh. Moving on. Storms drenched southern parts of mainland China on Monday, causing flash floods and snarling traffic a day after Typhoon Vipa pounded Hong Kong. Heavy rain continues to lash southern province of Guangdong after the storm system made landfall on Sunday. Heavy rainfall is forecast to continue across coastal regions in South China until Tuesday morning, with warnings issued for flash floods, landslides and strong winds. Typhoon Vipa had weakened to a tropical storm upon landfall and forecast it to skirt the coast of Guangdong and move southwesterly towards Vietnam. Vietnam's Prime Minister put coastal provinces on emergency footing for Typhoon Vipa, saying it could cause flooding and landslides as airlines cancelled flights ahead of the storm's expected landfall early on Tuesday. The storm is forecast to cross Vietnam's northern coast between Quang Ninh and Ninh Pinh provinces, and the National Weather Agency has said it is carrying heavy rains that could cause dangerous floods and mudslides. Now, Prime Minister sent an urgent message to coastal provinces on Sunday night to call boats ashore, evacuate people from flood-prone areas, prepare food supplies and rescue equipments, and secure communication infrastructure. And torrential rains that slammed South Korea for 5 days have left 17 people dead and 11 others missing. The Interior and Safety Ministry said about 2,730 people remain evacuated from their homes on Sunday. The rain stopped in most of South Korea on Sunday, and heavy rain alerts have been subsequently lifted throughout the country, ministry officials confirmed. Southern regions have received up to about 600 to 800 millimeters of rain since the 16th of July. President Lee Jae-myung offered condolences to victims of the heavy downpours and announced plans to designate several affected areas as special disaster zones, enabling increased government aid and recovery support. We're heading for a short break, but still to come on the other side. Scotty Scheffler claims British Open title with a stunning 4-shot victory. Debutant Owen powers Australia to 3-wicket victory over West Indies in the first T20 international. Welcome back after that short break. You're watching DDI News Hour. Now at the 4th G20 Finance Ministers and Central Bank Governors meeting in South Africa, global leaders gathered against a backdrop of uncertainty but also an opportunity. The joint communique that followed reflects a shared push for financial resilience, sustainable growth and stronger support for the global South. For India, this moment ties directly into its long-term development vision, which is the Vikasit Bharat or Developed India, a commitment to becoming a fully developed nation by the year 2047. The themes of inclusion, digital transformation and climate-conscious development in the G20 outcome echo what India is working towards back at home.
The delegation concluded its G20 engagements, reaching a full consensus on a joint communique at Zimbabwe. The Consulate General of India, Durban, hosted a special evening to honor the shared purpose and friendship between India and South Africa. The evening's focal point was clear: Vikasit Bharat 2047, India's ambitious roadmap to becoming a developed nation by its centenary of independence.
Agreement was reached on issues on taxation, sustainable finance, the global economy, and also on multilateral institution and mobilizing private capital. So in all these issues, I think both developed and developing countries came together. The South African presidency did a wonderful job, and the Treasury officials who handled the communique drafting were extremely patient, and they made sure that all views were expressed and allowed to be expressed, and then they deftly work around those views and managed to arrive at a consensus that was acceptable to all the G20 countries. So I think full credit to the South African presidency for managing to arrive at a consensus communique in this third FMCBG meeting under their presidency. Vikasit Bharat 2047 is a goal, is an aspiration for India to become a developed nation, which means at the minimum having, assuming the current population numbers, having a minimum per capita income of about $14,000 to $15,000, which means Indian GDP in dollar terms should be about $20 trillion at current prices or more by 2047. I think it does give a sense of purpose, a mission to the Indians, because at the time of the centenary of the country's independence, that we should be a developed nation, putting behind the colonial rule, I think is a great rallying call by the Honorable Prime Minister Sri Narendra Modi, to make sure that Indians collectively work together to raise the level of employment, the level of income growth, the level of manufacturing in the country, technological innovations, and also, more importantly, make India a global player when it comes to supply chain for critical minerals, rare earths, and technology. So it is a sort of a very important motivational appeal for Indians to put their shoulders together and make sure that India becomes a developed nation in all respects. It is not just about GDP, numbers, or per capita income. It is about a sense of all-round prosperity and optimism about the future.
That was Dr. Nageshwaran, and I'm Nazneen for DD India, South Africa, where diplomacy danced with a coastal breeze.
Now, around 42 million employed people in Europe classify as living in holiday poverty, meaning they cannot afford a one-week vacation away from home. Here with more details is Deutsche Welle correspondent Emily Leshner reporting from Berlin. Good afternoon, Emily. Why is this significant?
Well, what makes this so significant is that the number has been rising for 3 years in a row. That's according to a new report published by the European Trade Union Confederation. In 2022, 14% of people working and living in the EU couldn't afford a vacation, and just 1 year later, the rate increased 1 percentage point. That 1 percentage difference may not sound like a lot, but that's an additional 1 million people that can't make ends meet if they go away for a week. And we know through scientific research, of course, that time off from work is very important for mental health, for well-being, to avoid burnout, for enhanced creativity and productivity, things that benefit the individual as well as the company they work for.
So where are people least able to afford a short holiday, Emily?
Now there's a big discrepancy between Eastern and Southern countries in Europe, and then between Western and Northern countries. So in Eastern and Southern countries, there are higher rates of this so-called holiday poverty. Romania is at the top of the list with 32% of employed people not being able to afford a week off, followed by Hungary, Bulgaria, Cyprus, Slovakia, and Portugal. They have rates anywhere from 22 to 26%. And then when you head to the north, to countries like Norway, Finland, Sweden, and Denmark, rates are much, much lower, around 5 to 7%. So those are at the extreme ends. If you look at the big four European nations, it's Germany, Italy, France, and Spain, places that are ironically top holiday destinations themselves, the rates are from 10 to 17%. So that means that in each country, you've got anywhere from 5 to 6.5 million people all employed, and in some cases running their own businesses that cannot financially afford to take a short holiday away from home.
All right. Thank you so much, Emily Leshner, for joining us and bringing us the latest. Moving on, now let's get you all the latest from the world of sports. To begin with cricket first. Injury troubles continue to mount for the Indian cricket team as Nitish Kumar Reddy and Arshdeep Singh have been ruled out of the 4th test against England at Old Trafford. All-rounder Nitish Kumar Reddy, along with pacers Arshdeep Singh and Akashdeep, suffered injuries while training for the Manchester Test. Nitish Kumar Reddy has been ruled out of the remainder of the series and will fly back to India for recovery. Meanwhile, Arshdeep has been ruled out of the 4th test and his progress will be monitored. Selectors have added fast bowler Anshul Kamboj and retained Akashdeep in the squad for the final 2 tests against England. The 4th test is vital for India as host England are currently leading the 5-match series by 2-1. Indian team has added Anshul Kamboj to the test squad for the last 2 matches of the ongoing 5-match test series. The pacer has had an illustrious domestic career which has put him in line for a World Test debut on Wednesday. Kamboj was part of India A team in the unofficial test series list against England Lions. The right-arm seamer picked up 5 wickets across 2 games. Kamboj has played a total of 24 matches in first-class cricket and dismissed a total of 79 batters. Anshul's best performance in red ball came during the Ranji Trophy match played between Haryana and Kerala, where he picked 10 wickets for 49 runs. The Karnal-born cricketer is only the third cricketer to take all 10 wickets in an innings of a Ranji Trophy match. Now in the year 2024 edition of the Duleep Trophy, Kamboj played 3 matches for India C and dismissed 16 batters. Kamboj has played 25 List A and 30 T20 matches so far and has 40 and 34 wickets respectively. Moving on to chess now, Grandmaster Koneru Humpy has created history by becoming the first ever Indian to reach the semi-finals of the ongoing FIDE Women's World Cup. India's #1 Humpy defeated China's Yuxin Song in the first game of the quarterfinal and then settled for a draw in Game 2. Moving on to the British Open now. World #1 Scotty Scheffler sealed his first British Open triumph by 4 shots at Royal Portrush. Scheffler delivered a dominant performance to win his second major this year and grab the third leg of the career Grand Slam. With this victory, Scheffler will also head to the US Open next year with a chance to make it a clean sweep of golf's biggest title. Scheffler won the Masters by 3 shots in 2022 and by 4 shots last year. Moving on, debutant Mitchell Owen powered Australia to a 3-wicket victory over West Indies in the first T20 international in Jamaica. The Caribbean side was cruising at 182 for 4 in 17 overs, but lost the plot and ran out of gas in the last 3 overs. In the last 16 deliveries, West Indies managed to score just 7 runs and lost 4 wickets. And that's all for this edition of DD News Hour, but do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download it right now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Vipa, and from all of us here in New Delhi, thank you so much for watching DD India News Hour. Namaskar.